This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Wednesday, August 11. In Squiz Kids Today, Planet Earth needs you. Inside an ancient fast food joint, Percy draws a blank, and Australia's own dinosaur dragon. That's what's making news, kids style.
The lowdown.
It's report card time. That moment when, as humans, we receive our report card on how well we've been looking after the Earth. And, sad to say, the grades are not that great. A group of the world's smartest scientists in the study of climate change released a report yesterday that warned, unless we take some pretty urgent action now, the planet we live on will start to change dramatically, and not for the better. The group is called the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC for short, and it's issued what's been called a code red for humanity when it comes to climate change. According to the report, unless we make some pretty serious changes to the way we live, heat waves, droughts, flooding and extreme weather events are going to become more and more common. World leaders will get together in the Scottish city of Glasgow later this year to discuss the report and hopefully start to make plans to turn things around. The upside? It's not too late. And the work that your generation does, the passion and the conviction that you bring to making things better and to convincing people my age to pull up their socks, the better things will get. Right now, we only need to look to the islands of Greece in Europe and the state of California in the United States to see how destructive Mother Nature can get if she's unsettled. Wildfires have been burning out of control in Greece, forcing thousands to evacuate their homes, while in California, the Dixie Fire has been burning there for almost a month, devastating forests as the state swelters in 38-degree heat. Many have drawn the link between the fire catastrophes and climate change. I've stuck a link in today's episode notes to the front pages of newspapers around the world and how they've used the Greek fires to illustrate the story of the IPCC report.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a new story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Pompeii, in Italy, where archaeologists have uncovered an ancient fast food joint. Pompeii is one of the most popular tourist attractions in Italy. Hundreds of years ago, the town was frozen in time when a nearby volcano, Mount Vesuvius, suddenly erupted. The eruption buried the place in lava and ash, which is where it sat, undisturbed, until archaeologists started to excavate, which is a fancy word for dig up. Archaeologists are people who dig up evidence of how life was lived hundreds of years ago. And the latest discovery by them is an old snack bar, a place where the people of Pompeii would have gone to have a quick bite to eat. A sort of Macca's of the ancient world. Except this one served snails, duck, pigs and goat. A McGoat burger or a fillet o' snail. Why not? There's a link in today's episode notes to photos of the old fast food joint.
Animal Kingdom.
Take a bow, Queensland. You have your very own dragon. Well, you had your very own dragon, like 150 million years ago to be precise. An ancient fossil found in the Queensland outback was yesterday being hailed as evidence that a long, long time ago, when most of outback Queensland was covered by an inland sea, if you can believe that, a dragon-type dinosaur flew high above it. Showing off the jawbone of the pterosaur yesterday, which is the name given to flying dinosaurs from the Cretaceous period, the scientists who discovered it said it had a mouth like a spear, filled with savage teeth, and it flew across the skies on a wingspan of 7 meters. If you hold out your own arms, that's a little over 1 metre. So multiply that by 7 and you get why this creature would have been super scary. The pterosaur would have flown over the inland sea, swooping down to scoop up fish. Awesome. There's a link in today's episode notes to a photo of the fossil.
Spaced out.
Percy's gone and pulled up a blank. Remember how we've been following the progress of Percy, the Mars rover? He's been up on Mars now for a couple of months, roaming about the place, and this week he set about drilling into some rocks to collect a sample to eventually send back to Earth for scientists to study to see if there are any signs of life in it. Well, everything went to plan. Percy found the right spot. Percy drilled down into the rock. All of the robotic arms that were supposed to collect the rock and drop it into a special test tube did their job, but somewhere along the way something didn't quite work, with NASA yesterday confirming the test tube was empty. But this is how scientific experiments work. Behind every success there are multiple attempts and multiple failures. And Percy is just going to keep on going and fine-tuning the rock collection process until he gets it right. His name, after all, is short for perseverance.
Q&A call-out.
Can you imagine playing your favourite sport with a blindfold on? Because that's basically what 3-time goalball Paralympian Tyan Taylor does as she hurls herself at a ball with little bells inside it. Tyan, who's one of Australia's best Paralympians, has kindly agreed to take the Squiz Kids Q&A hot seat before she leaves for Tokyo. This is your chance to get the inside running on how one of the world's biggest sporting events works. What inspires her as an athlete? How does she train? How do you train when you're visually impaired? Who are her sporting heroes and why? Send in your questions before Friday to squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. And don't forget to check out the cool goalball explainer video in the episode notes.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What's the name of the ancient town in Italy that is preserved in lava and volcanic ash? That's right, it's Pompeii. Question number 2. In which state of Australia have the fossilised remains of a pterosaur been found? Yeah, it's Queensland. Question number 3. Our next guest in the Q&A hot seat, Tyan Taylor, competes in what Paralympic sport? You got it, it's goalball.
Shout-outs.
It's August 11, birthday of Thor actor Chris Hemsworth and kids author Enid Blyton. It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Rebecca from Woongarra, Riley from Greystanes, Sophie from Habana, Emma from Cherrybrook, Lucia from Whale Beach, Max from Eden Hill, Ty from Shoal Bay, Ryan from Manopara, Akeen from Glen Waverley, Knox from Canberra, and twins Tom and Ben from Canberra too, and lastly Chelsea and Stella from Albany Hills. Plus, because our friends in Victoria and Greater Sydney are still in lockdown, we feel for you. We're continuing to send out home learning herograms. First up, my buddy Owen wants to send a shout out to classes 4W and 4B and teachers Mrs. O'Connell, Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Fountain at St. John's, Narrowena. And Owen wants to say thanks to his homeschool teacher, Mr. Tanaka, who I think might be his dad. Also, a shout out to Hamish, Genevieve and Esther of East Gosford, who are doing a fantastic job of home learning. Jade in Class 4B at Turramurra Public School sends a herogram to her teacher, Mr. Brashino, and says thank you for your amazing funny videos every day. And one last herogram to Mrs. Dossetto in Class 6D at Angadine West Public School. Plus, a couple of classroom shout-outs to those of you not in lockdown. Class 5M and Miss Millgate at Sherwood Public School, to Mrs. Fairley and her grade 6 students at Deception Bay Public School, and to all the Year 3 students at Kareem Primary School in Western Australia. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you'll want a shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, or you'd like to send a home learning herogram, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out. Squiz Kids is proudly supported by the Judith Neilson Institute for Journalism and Ideas.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.